folks, Scott here with my 10 cards, 1 kit video from the Love From Lizi July 2019 card kit. Lizi is calling this the Summer Fruits Kit, and it features those eyelash girls that we were introduced to last September of 2018 in the Love From Lizi Happy Haunting Kit. As usual, I did cut all of my colored cardstock in half. I used most of them for card bases, but I did use some for card panels. I did get the add-on stamp sets this month, so I thought a great way to get started with this kit would be to stamp everything and color it. So I did take 1/2 of the Copic-friendly white cardstock that Lizi provides in the kit, and I stamped all of these images using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I colored them all using my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. I did try to stick to the palette of this whole card kit as I colored them, and I did a little bit of paper piecing with these girls as well. We were treated to matching dies for the main stamp set this month, so I did die cut all of these images, and of course I had to take a picture with them displayed on the stamp set. Now, our main stamp set had that sun, sand, watermelon in hand sentiment. I figured that had to go with the little eyelash girl with the big piece of watermelon in her hands. So for our first card on the pink card base, we've got kind of a riot of colors. Hello, summer. Sun, sand, watermelon in hand, and on the inside, have a wonderful summer. I die cut a piece of white cardstock with one of my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies, and then I used some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink to distress ink the edges of that. Now, I did get all of the new colors of embossing powder from Lizi this month, and I was dying to give these a try. They are the brightest colors I have in my embossing powder stash. Bright and vibrant. I took my little Doris border die, that chevron die, and I cut it out of some cardstock. Many times I embossed those with the different colors of embossing powder. So these are the neon grapefruit, the neon lemon, the cherry red, the neon lime, and the posy purple embossing powders. All of these embossing powders are beautiful and really fine, so I figured I should try them on the sentiments. That neon green matches that Lucky Clover really nicely. It reads really very well. I stamped both of those on the white card panel, embossed this with that cherry red. Love that cherry red embossing powder. I, of course, took our colored watermelon girl, added her to the card front with some of the foam squares in our kit. I matted the card panel on a thin mat of that raspberry pink cardstock, glued all of the chevrons right next to each other along the bottom of the card, added 3 little enamel dots from our embellishment bag, and added that little palm leaf stamp and die cut between those two sentiments. All 3 of those sentiments work really well together. Hello, summer. Sun, sand, watermelon in hand. Have a wonderful summer. I really like how the pink and the raspberry pink and the green and the white really echo the colors of a watermelon. I swear that watermelon must be as big as this little girl's head. So that actually took care of 3 sentiments from our stamp set. All I have left is that sweet thanks sentiment down on the bottom. So that's where I went for our second card on a pink card base. Got to get rid of that pink as fast as possible. This card is my major pink card. We've got sweet thanks. Ooh, baby, that's pink. Now, all of the props and fruits and things in our stamp sets were pretty small, so I turned to our pattern papers for these sweet fruit images to use on this card. This is the lime and grapefruit pattern paper I cut these from, 2 of the watermelon slices from the watermelon pattern paper, and this big pineapple from another pattern paper. I glued all 3 of those together, Then I trace them on this light pink and green. This has limes and pineapples on it. I traced that on the back of this pattern paper and cut out a little negative mask about a 1/4 inch larger than the tracing. I did cut this pattern paper with that Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die again, matted that again on that raspberry pink cardstock, glued it down to my pink card base. Oh baby, this is pink. I stamped the sentiment using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then to finish up this card, I added a couple of fussy cut flowers from our pattern paper, and then those little bitty fruit sequins or fruit pieces that were in our sequin mix. A few sequins here and there. Our little fruit arrangement is attached to the top of this card using some foam squares from the kit. Sweet thanks, a nice pink thank you card. So that takes care of all of the sentiments in our main stamp set. There's a couple of sentiments on the add-on stamp sets that I do want to use, but my eye was really drawn to one of those ephemera girls that was holding an ice cream cone that was virtually as big as she was. I had a great idea for how to use her. This is on a white card base. We've got I love you more than ice cream, unless it's mint chocolate chip. There's always got to be a condition there. I printed both of these sentiments using my Silhouette software and the Brady Bunch remastered font. I love you more than ice cream, and unless it's mint chocolate chip. I die cut that ice cream pop pattern paper with a stitched hillside die and added that to the left side of my card front. I did take my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen and gave all of those ice creams a little bit of shimmer, as well as the ice cream here. I added our little ephemera girl with that tallest ice cream in the world with some foam squares from the kit. I love you more than ice cream. We got 3 of the purple little enamel dots below that. I also took one of the new mauve peel-offs and ran that along the edge of our pattern paper cut. Those, especially the thin peel-offs, are pretty good at taking an easy curve to them. Match that up right nicely. I really like this card. I love you more than ice cream, unless it's mint chocolate chip. Even the ice cream thinks that's funny. Now that Summer Lovin' stamp set had this sentiment, life is better in a bikini. She's not really wearing a bikini here, but one of the girls from our main stamp set's wearing a bikini. I like the fact that we're looking at her from the back, because that really pulls your attention to the world's tiniest itsy bitsy teeny weeny bikini. Life is better in a bikini. I cut a 2-inch piece of that great blue-green shimmer pattern paper, glued that down to the middle of our card. I took some of the new bubble peel-offs in green mirror and added those up and down the 2 sides of that pattern paper. I really like those bubble peel-offs. Very interesting. This is the foil washi tape from our kit. 2 stripes of that down the sides. I still had some scraps of the raspberry pink cardstock, so I cut some thin strips of those to go down the sides there, added the very small bubble peel-offs on top of that to finish off the front of this card. I actually had a really thin strip of that raspberry pink cardstock and one of those thin strips of the mirror green for a little base for her to stand on. She's attached to the top of the card with the foam squares, of course. Life is better in a bikini. I stamped that with Onyx Black ink. And the is so tiny, it didn't read very well on top of this cardstock. I'm sure it would read well on white, so I just took a white gel pen and reinforced that is. Life is better in a bikini. I did add a few sequins from our sequin mix for a little sparkle on this. I love how, looking at her back, all you can really see is that tiny, tiny, tiny green bikini. I had to add one more sentiment to this. It seemed appropriate. Life is better in a bikini. See you soon. That gives this card some purpose, and that's a pretty decent pun for a stamp. I have to admit, I've never worn a bikini. I was looking forward to playing with that Aloha die that came in our embellishment bag this month. So on a sunshine yellow card base, this is our Aloha card. Have a good summer. Aloha. I just took a scrap of white cardstock and did some ink blending using my Simon Says stamp watermelon and lemon zest hybrid inks. Did some ink blending on that, die cut the Aloha from that. I die cut 2 more Alohas and glued them all together to give us a nice chunky sentiment there. I took another piece of that great blue-green shimmer pattern paper. I cut that out with a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die. And I matted that on a piece of black cardstock. I thought that would really pop this card with that nice black mat around there. And then I took the shadow die from the Aloha and cut that right through the pattern paper and the black mat to do another little reverse mat for that Aloha. I glued the chunky sentiment inside that opening there. Then these are all ephemera pieces from our ephemera pack. I did trim this one down, some of its borders a little bit. These are not trimmed at all, just a little flower arrangement in the top left. Our drink and pineapple and sunglasses right there. If that doesn't say Aloha, I don't know. Some of the green enamel dots for highlights on the top and bottom of that sentiment, and one of those little epoxy stickers at the bottom for have a good summer. Aloha. I tell you, keeping track of that little bitty tittle or whatever it's called at the bottom of that exclamation point, that gave me some agita. But I managed to hang on to it, and that's actually 3 of those little dots glued together. I wish I knew someone in Hawaii or knew someone who was going to Hawaii. I like the fact that Aloha not only means hello, it also means goodbye. I think one of my favorite stamps out of all of these stamp sets is this little camper caravan in that Summer Lovin' stamp set. Now this is on the cream card base, and we've got Eat, Beach, Sleep, Repeat. That sentiment is on the Summer Lovin' stamp set, along with the camper and the surfboard girl. I put them all together on this card. I did a simple scene creation here. I just masked off the bottom 2/3 of the card and did some ink blending with my orange marmalade Distress Oxide ink. And then below that, I used frayed burlap Distress Oxide ink for the sand. I have these great little micro applicator brushes, really tiny tips on these brushes. I really like using these to do dots in the sand and make texture, because when you dip them into your ink and start working them, the ink starts fading away and starts getting used. So you get some really nice variations with one of these little applicator brushes. Even did some little dots underneath my surfboard girl there. I did use my white gel pens to add some white dots amongst the sand too, and then a thin strip of that blue pattern paper between the sky and the sand for a little sliver of the ocean on the horizon. I fussy cut our little surfboard girl and her camper, mounted them to the card with foam squares, and then I stamped some birds in the background. We had to have something. I have this old Simon Says stamp set. This is the See You Soon stamp set. It has those great birds there you can put in any position. I used my walnut stained Distress Oxide ink for those birds. That kind of finishes out the scene. No sparkle, no glitter, just a girl and her camper. Eat, beach, sleep, repeat. Of course, there's something else there. Have a wonderful summer. Seemed to work well with that sentiment too. That's another summer card for us. I really like that scene, and I love that little camper stamp. Okay, now watermelon seemed a little prevalent in this card kit, so let's play with some puns. On the raspberry pink cardstock, I actually like this color quite a lot. On our raspberry pink cardstock, we have You're one in a melon. That's our third girl from our original stamp set. This is a piece of the pattern paper that I die cut on an angle using my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die. I then cut a plain piece of cardstock to size and covered the edges with that gold glitter washi tape from our kit. Added those two together for a beautiful mat, glued those down to the raspberry cardstock. Now I was going to use this little watermelon slice from our stamp set, which is ultimately much more to scale with her, but I figured since we were doing a melon pun, and since she's got a watermelon that's as big as her head, I figured this little girl could have a watermelon that's bigger than her head. I fussy cut that melon out of one of our pattern papers and just stuck that into her hands. I'm surprised she's not falling over. It's so big. That melon really highlights this pun. I did add some sparkle to our watermelon with my sparkle pen. You're one in a melon. Nothing on the inside of that one, but that is one hell of a melon. Now this makes me laugh every time I see it. I don't know if we can call it a pun, but it's definitely a good joke. This is on the Sunshine Yellow card base, and we've got, when life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. I just can't help myself. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. I thought that went so well with this great melon pattern paper. This is one of the shimmer pattern papers, so there's a nice shine to that. It kind of feels like melons are just falling all over the place. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. This is a 3 3/4 inch strip of that pattern paper glued down to this Sunshine Yellow cardstock and then trimmed with the Green Mirror wave peel-offs down the side of that. Now I did glue two pieces of vellum together using my Xyron sticker maker and then printed this sentiment using my printer and my Silhouette software. This is the Brady Bunch font again, and I did the inside sentiment on a white cardstock as well. I just ran this vellum piece through my Xyron sticker maker again to cover the back of it with adhesive to glue it down to this card front. I really think that works nicely. I love being able to see the watermelon through that, and yet that sentiment really shows up quite well. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. I thought I would drive that point home by putting both a piece of melon and a lemon on either side of this sentiment. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. I'm sorry. Makes me giggle every time I say that. Now, on that other add-on stamp set, the Summer Girls stamp set, there was a sentiment here, girls just want to have fun. I was surprised that Lizzie didn't go for the pun. I mean, it is summer. This is the other cream card base, and we've got girls just want to have sun. I did take my little homemade sunburst stencil and I stenciled the top half of this card with that sunburst stencil using those same Simon Says Stamp hybrid inks. And then I did the bottom sand like I did on our other scene, except this time I used the antique linen for a little bit of a lighter color. Again, used my little micro applicator brushes to add texture and dots to that sand. I printed this sentiment right on the card front using my Silhouette software, and that again, of course, is the Brady Bunch font. These girls are all ephemera girls from our ephemera pack. I mounted them to the front of this card with foam squares, and then I took that yellow tassel and trimmed it all up and added it outside of the girls in between the inked sunburst lines. And I think that added a really nice, very dimensional touch to that sunburst. Almost feels like it's coming right off the card at you. Girls just want to have sun. Now, I think everybody is going to use that great ephemera piece of the camper. It's great big. I've already seen somebody make a whole card out of that camper. I'm looking forward to using it as well. And I also have that other girl that I've stamped and colored. This is the little girl from the Summer Girls stamp set. She's shorter than all of the other girls in our stamp sets. So this is what I came up with for our 10th card. We are on a black card base from my stash, and we get our lovely camper in a nighttime scene. There is a pull tab on the bottom. Home is wherever you are. And we've got two of the little girls holding hands inside their camper. This was truly a labor of love for me. I've seen these flip-up cards before, and I wanted to see if I could possibly make it work with this camper. I think it came out really well. I trimmed down the border on our ephemera piece so it wouldn't be quite so white, and then traced that on the front of this mint card panel, so that would give me the shape of the inside of the camper. I just sketched in a little scene inside that trailer there. I like my little window on the side, which is underneath that awning. So that works. I reverse stamped this girl and colored her in a different color than the first girl, fussy cut those both out, added those to the inside of our little camper here. This is basically just a pull tab card with a fold. This is the first time I've done one of these flip up cards. I promise if I do one again, I'll do an in detail how to with that. But I like that it flips up. Home is wherever you are. I debated whether to make that home is wherever you are or home is wherever we are, but it seemed to me that you is a little bit more universal than we. Our cute little ephemera camper on the front. I did add some glossy accents to the heart in the window. I cut this window out so you could actually see there's something inside that window. Home is wherever you are. I think that's a great sentiment. There's our two little girls partying it up inside their camper. So that's my 10 cards from the Love from Lizi July 2019 kit. I think we've got a really nice assortment here. They're not all summer cards. We've got a thank you card and a love card, a couple of love cards, 3 or 4 puns here, a nice aloha card. I did manage to use all 5 of the girl stamps, 6 if you count the reverse stamped one here. I ended up using 7 of the sentiments from our stamp sets. I didn't use every prop stamp that came in this stamp set. A lot of these are really tiny, and I just didn't want to fussy cut them out. I did use all of the cardstock in our kit except for one piece of that white cardstock. I didn't get to the vellum or that acetate sheet. I didn't make any shaker cards, so I didn't have much need for either one of those. I'll get to those, I promise. I used 10 of our pattern papers, bits and pieces from 10 of our pattern paper sheets. That means I have 10 pattern paper sheets that I did not touch. This will find a loving home in my stash. I only used 1 of the peel-offs, but this is a great color. Will go in my stash of peel-offs. I really liked using that on a nice curve on this card. It went very well with those ice cream pops. I used a little bit of everything in our embellishment bag. I only have a few foam squares left. I didn't use the patterned washi tape. I did use some of the sequins, including the little fruit pieces. I used quite a bit of the ephemera pieces, but I think I still have 4 or 5 girls left. I used the aloha die, a number of the enamel dots. I used 1 of these little epoxy stickers. I did use a decent amount of that yellow tassel from our kit. And I did take that red tassel and I added that to the zipper on my bag. I'm always digging for this zipper. I can never find it, so I attached that to my zipper. It's perfect. It seems to be holding up quite well. And then, of course, I have our 3 stamp sets featuring those eyelash ladies in summer attire. What will they be wearing next? Lizzie always gives us so many supplies in these card kits. I could make another 20 cards from just the items in this card kit. Now, even though this is a rather feminine kit, I actually had a great time putting these cards together. And hey, it's not too awful pink. At posting, this kit is still available at lovefromlizi.com, along with a lot of the add-ons and other pieces of the July release. So if I've managed to whet your appetite or pique your curiosity, and if you go shopping at Love From Lizi, please use my link in the description down below. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I appreciate the support and encouragement that all of you give me. Please let me know which card you like best, and if you have any questions or comments, remember to pin me, post me, like me, list me, share me with all of your friends. Don't run with pineapples, and happy crafting. If you'd like more detailed information, better pictures, and product links, please visit my website at cardcutups.com.